Hi there. Really sorry I didn't make the meeting yesterday. So here's just a quick presentation of what my business is all about. The name of my business is Reid Collections Limited, and I have another part of my business called Reid Credit Solutions. So ultimately, I want to educate as many businesses as possible to be more proactive instead of reactive. Yes, my company is a debt collection company, but as I say, I'm wanting businesses to not get to that stage of debt recovery because they're absolutely stressed and in cash flow panic by the time they come to me. So I'll just give you a quick overview of my background so you have an understanding of what I've done in my working life. So I'm a qualified paralegal for insolvency and diligence. I've been qualified probably for over 25 years, maybe longer. I'm a member of the Chartered Institute of Credit Management, which is the biggest institute in Europe, who regulate and check credit management companies. Now, I was a member of the CICM whilst I was an employee as well as a credit manager for 6 years. And when I started my business, I told them what I was doing and they continued my membership, which was great. I've never had 3 previous jobs in my whole working life. So I worked for sheriff officers, which was probably the start of, seeing what debt collection, what involved debt collection. That was a real eye-opener for me. Started working in the old poll tax. Some of you may remember that. It was an eye-opener, as I say. I worked for solicitors where I obtained my paralegal qualifications, and then I moved on to an oil company who I worked for 12 years. I was the credit manager in there for over 70 staff, and I set up the legal team within there because we had acquired that many businesses. It was growing really quickly, so we definitely needed an in-house legal team. So my goal is to stop businesses from going under, and not having a credit management process in place most definitely will put any business at risk. So invoices, you get them sent out, then they don't pay you. You've got that dreaded overdue showing up on your system. Your staff don't get paid, you potentially don't get paid. So it looks like you're probably losing control of your business. You're starting to feel like you're failing, which then has an impact on your personal life. So it's not a nice thing to go through. Very first thing I say to everybody is act as quickly as possible. If you don't act quickly, your invoices go to the bottom of the pile. Companies become insolvent and go into voluntary liquidation, and obviously more so during COVID, and over the next 6 months to a year, we will probably see the biggest tsunami ever, of businesses going under. So I had 2 clients in 1 week who had to write off debts totaling £7,500 between them because both companies, 2 separate companies, had gone into voluntary liquidation. Now, £7,500 between 2 small businesses is a lot of money. So you're obviously wanting to try and avoid that, get in quickly. So are you in a position to not act quickly? One of the first things I ask any businesses to do is a background check. And it doesn't just mean check their finances. It's actually checking out the people behind that business. It's not just about finances. They could have all the money in the world, but just don't want to pay you. So will your client not pay you because they can't or because they don't actually want to? These are websites that you can use for free. The very first thing you need to make sure is when you sign up a client is you need to make sure you have the correct business name and address. It's the correct legal entity. There is no point just having Joe Bloggs, the electrician. You need their full name, their full address, their business name. And to be honest, that information should be on any, paperwork that goes between you and your client. from the outset. So the information should be available and visible to you from the very beginning. So there's 3 different websites that I use and I give out to companies to check. You know, if they just want to do their own checks. I do other background checks through other sources, but these are the 3 main ones that I pass out to people. These websites are free. So you've got the Gazette, which covers England and Scotland. It's called the London Gazette and the Edinburgh Gazette. Now, this also covers individuals as well. So a lot of, well, you can't actually check. If you're wanting a paid credit check done on an individual, you have to get their permission. Limited companies, you don't. So the Gazette is quite good for checking individuals as well, because that information would be available. Then you have the accountant and bankruptcy website, where, you know, I would maybe check directors of companies, because believe it or not, I had 2 debtors passed to me, 2 debtor companies, and I did checks on the directors, and the directors were actually bankrupt. Now, they shouldn't have been trading as a director in the first place, so that was, you know, legally wrong. So that's a really good website to check for bankruptcy. Then you have the Companies House website. It does give you quite a bit of information, but doesn't cover absolutely everything. So if a company is in the process of being liquidated, it won't tell you on Companies House that it's in the process, and that's where the Gazette comes in. That will give you the information if any notices have been lodged, so that a company can go into liquidation. Companies House tell you when they are liquidated. So the whole insolvency process can take months to show up. So that's how the Gazette is really, really good for businesses. Check websites, check testimonials, check social media. Now, social media, everybody is basically on social media, unless you're my dad, and he's not. But, you know, all businesses are on social media. You know, I find a lot of information on social media. If they're not on social media, that would be a wee bit of a red flag for me. If a company has various directorships which have dissolved, now I'm talking a number of directorships, we know businesses can get into difficulty, especially at the moment, as I've said. However, if they have had more, I would probably say 2 or 3 dissolved companies, that would be a red flag for me. I actually had one of my clients come to me a few weeks ago, and he just had a gut feeling. So a gut feeling's good as well. And he told me to check out this supplier. So when I checked him out, he actually had 33 dissolved companies. That's probably the worst I've ever saw, to be honest, which then made me check the accountant and bankruptcy website. And this guy was actually made bankrupt in 2017 with debts of £1.1 million. So yeah, that was is probably the worst that I've actually saw. So yeah, gut feelings are good as well. I've went with my gut on a number of occasions. So yeah. Terms and conditions. Now, this is a huge thing within businesses. Terms and conditions don't just cover payment terms. They cover your full business. So again, the correct business, company name, the correct legal entity must be on your terms and conditions. Your goods and services offered, if they aren't visible to your client, then they don't know what to expect from you. So they need to be very, very clear on your terms and conditions. Then, as I say, payment terms, which you can then apply late payment compensation, late payment interest, if you take a deposit, you know, when your final payment is due, all that kind of thing. It's just very, very clear. Delivery of your goods and services that you're offered, you know, along with warranties. There could be an issue at some point that's out with your control. How do you protect yourself from that? Termination and cancellation. This incorporates a lot of cases that I get passed. and say you had, you know, someone just cancels your service or product, you know, when you've already, you know, started processing it. So say you had a 12-month contract with someone, a 12-month retainer, and they cancelled 3 or 4 months into that. How much of an impact would that have in your business at the moment? So you probably rejected work based on having something else in place. You've already lost out on other work as well. Websites and privacy. So if you have a website and, you know, during COVID, so many businesses adapted, which was great, and moved everything online. But your T's and C's need to match what services you are providing on your website. They need to match. Then you've got your privacy laws, privacy policy, sorry. That is a legal requirement. So if you're taking any information whatsoever from your clients, even if it's a newsletter, you know, a lot of companies have come to me because of set up membership, subscriptions. It is a legal requirement that you have a privacy policy, sorry. And it's so easy to get set up as well. Then finally, your governing laws. So that's your very last paragraph in your terms and conditions. And if your business is based in Scotland, you should have the Scottish jurisdiction on your governing laws. Now, the reason I'm emphasising this is a telltale sign for me if a company has copied. Believe it or not, a lot of people copy T's and C's from someone else's website, and that's just an absolute no-no, because when I get to the governing laws, I can see that they're based in England, and I'm thinking, why would you have the English courts involved in this when your business is in Scotland? Then when I have a proper read through it, there's some clauses in there that doesn't even have reference to their business, so that's how I know they copy. Now, it's so common. It is really, really common. So if any of you out there have copied your T's and C's, please just give me a shout and we can get them sorted for you. Just a quick summary: your credit check, background check, you know, that should be the first thing you should do for any new client that you're taking on. When someone comes to me for debt recovery as such, I would do my own due diligence anyway, but you should be doing it right at the beginning, from when you sign up a client. Provide your clients with your T's and C's. That document protects you, protects your business as well, which is, you know, I don't understand when businesses don't have them. Because it's very, very clear. I think what a lot of people think as well is T's and C's and contracts, they have to get them signed. You don't have to get them signed anymore. You can send them via email and they can accept via email. If you really want them signed, you can do Adobe signing. They have a facility that you can easily set up as well. But I can reiterate, they do not have to be signed. So there's no hassle to send off, to wait for somebody to sign and send back. So late payment charges, make sure they're really visible on your T's and C's. So if you've got late payment charges on your T's and C's, issue a new invoice highlighting these charges and send it on to your client. If they're late in paying you, then I can assure you, if you send them an invoice for late payment charges, they will contact you, it will prompt a response, even if it means they're phoning to complain about it. It's prompted a response, it's managed to get them to contact you. So if they confirm they have cash flow issues, arrange a payment plan, but do it as quickly as possible and only agree to it if they make the first payment immediately. Now, obviously this is at your discretion, you know, but I think a lot of us have had to look at, you know, when we're talking to clients, if they are upfront with you, then to me they're genuine. You know, if they're really upfront and say, I really want your service, but I struggle, I don't think I'll be able to pay you all that in the one go, arrange a payment plan. You know, if they've got into difficulty now because of COVID, again, that bit of empathy does, you know, go a long way as well, and communicate. Communicate all the time with your clients. Make sure everything's all right. Even when you send your invoice, even a couple of days before it's due, give them a wee courtesy phone call. Did you get the invoice? You know, is everything all right? That always works for me. And these are all my contact details, my email address, my mobile number, my website, and my LinkedIn. So I hope this was of some benefit to you. It was very, very brief. I could probably talk about this kind of stuff all day. But if anybody wants to reach out, or anyone's got any questions based on what I've spoke about in this presentation, then please most definitely reach out. It'd be really good to hear from you. Thanks very much for listening.